Welcome back everybody to the Abandoned EP3 build. We saved this thing from dying out in the woods of North Carolina a few months ago, and now it's time to continue modifying it. In this video, we're going to install custom coilovers, some clutch upgrades, and a bunch of steering upgrades. After that, we're gonna go take it for some rips on the back roads. So now first things first. Clutch upgrades. This thing grinds when you shift it really fast, and it's also got an unbelievably annoying squeak to it. So Hybrid Racing sent me out some parts to fix that. So we have the master cylinder goes underneath the dash, and then the slave cylinder going on the transmission. No more delay valves, no more rubber lines either. Nice stainless steel braided line. These are honestly the nicest master and slave cylinders I've ever seen. Like a billet bracket for where it attaches to the clutch pedal. I think it's gonna fix my squeak at the very least. Hopefully it fixes the grinding as well. But there's only one way to find out, so let's throw it in. Bam. We got the Hybrid Racing hydraulics in there. We got them bled, which was super easy. That was awesome. Unfortunately, still squeaks. So I have definitely found out the squeak is the throwout bearing / the clutch fork. All that in there is probably a little rusty, a little old. It probably is the original clutch, so that explains that. But the clutch pedal feels much better. The fluid is actually clear. And so now we're ready to work on the suspension. So we got it up in the air and we got the wheels off. In the previous video, we did go through the suspension in terms of bushings and like control arms. We have new factory control arms, new sway bar end links, new factory tie rods. The brakes have been redone since we first got the car. It's got brand new axles, half shafts. It even has some adjustable links in the rear. And that previous suspension rebuild, that was all from carparts.com. Carparts.com is awesome because it's like a one-stop shop for pretty much every part you need for your car. You can go on their website, you can put your car, your year, make, model in, and you can search through parts. The best part is that the parts are guaranteed to fit. So you don't have to worry about whether or not it's the right part for your car, you just buy it and it'll fit. And if it doesn't, or you're unhappy with the product, hassle-free returns. I highly recommend if you're ever looking for factory parts to check out carparts.com. But anyway, so it's already pretty dialed, but it's missing one thing, and that's coilovers. Coilovers are going to get this thing a little bit less monster truck and get it to drive better. Because a front wheel drive car with stock suspension is very understeery. And you gotta do some things to fix that. And so let me show you what we got in this BC Racing box. And here they are. BC Racing DS series coilovers, which is their digressive damper. These are custom spec coilovers for the EP3 for more track-oriented driving. What that means is they're stiffer spring rates and a proper setup for a front-wheel drive track car. On the Accord, I screwed it up and I did stiffer front springs and softer rear springs, because that's kind of what you do for a rear-wheel drive track car. At least that's what I did for the Miata, and that's what you're supposed to do for the Miata. And for front-wheel drive cars, you want the rear to be very stiff to help it not understeer. For this setup, we have 10K front springs and 14K rear springs. Also, look at this little coilover. It's so cute. It's very small, but it has the extended top hat so that the damper has more travel, which is awesome. But yeah, these rear springs are 14K, so it should be quite stiff, but it should help the car rotate when you're turning in. In addition to the custom springs, the custom damper setup, we have some extenders, so I won't have to take apart my interior every time I want to change the damping of the coilovers. just something to make it a little bit nicer when you're at the track. Also, the front coilovers do have camber plates. So that should be awesome. Should be able to get this alignment dialed once these things are on. And with that, the next step is to go ahead and install these. And of course, huge thank you to BC Racing for sending out these coilovers for the EP3 track car. You need coilovers for your daily, for your track car, for your drag car, check them out. You can customize pretty much anything, get the perfect spring rate, get the perfect damping setup, and they make coilovers for nearly every car in existence. It's pretty crazy. Front should be pretty easy. It's just bolts to the knuckle and top hat bolts. I think we can fish it out like that. You know, the rear also looks pretty easy. We might have to loosen some bolts back here to get the bushings to kind of release and get the coilover out, but we'll see. Well, we got the coilovers in on both the front sides. Looking very nice. We have now officially removed the last ugly rusty part. This thing no longer, well, God, maybe besides some of the bolts and the brake lines. But it mostly no longer looks like it was sitting in a forest for some amount of years. We've got the rear coilovers on. There's one last thing we have to do, and that is to reassemble the interior with these extenders. So normally I would have to take the plate off, take the plastic trim off in order to adjust the damping. These clamp onto the knob and will extend up through the plastic. So we have to drill a few holes. So the damping extenders turned out really good, and now, last but not least, we can put the wheels on and put it on the ground and see what the initial height is. Probably gonna need some adjustment, but let's find out. It's not a boat anymore. Honestly, that's a pretty good height as is. I think we are gonna have to do two things. Number one, we're gonna have to roll these rear fenders for sure. The fronts never really have lips. Like, these modern cars are much better at that. So fronts are good. I do have to adjust the alignment though, because this wheel is definitely pointing in. This pole in my shop is so annoying. I always wanna get a shot of cars from like right here, but I either have to go over here or over here. Get like a wide angle from right here. I mean, that looks good. So like at a good height, I think we could track it like this. Definitely needs that Type R wing now too, with a little bit of extra low. Way better. Let's go ahead and fix that front alignment and then take it for a drive. So currently we are at 1.25 inches of toe in. It's because the angle of these fucking tie rods are so sharp. They're pointing up like that. After a lot of adjustment, I got it down to 68 1/8 on both the front and the rear. So it's got 0 toe right now. That'll be good for our test drive. We'll bring it to an alignment shop before the event here. Nice thing about the EP3 is that you can adjust everything through the engine bay, which is kind of neat. Oh, there's one more thing we have to do. So we got the lip on the wheel well cut and then the wheel well itself painted. So it looks nicer and it shouldn't rub now. We might have to camber it in a bit, but only one way to find out. I got the alignment okay. A little crooked. Man, it's crazy how much of a difference suspension makes. Especially when you just go with that little stiffer spring rate, man. Oh man. It rubbed a little bit on that corner, but like not bad. Also now the alignment's different. A little concerning. Yeah, why is my alignment so different now? That is concerning. Definitely feels like something's loose because when I floored it, it steered to the right a little bit. But I don't know. So I actually immediately figured out what was wrong. The issue was that this camber bolt slipped. Obviously I already loosened it, but the camber bolt slipped and the driver's side got way positive camber. So that's why suddenly I had to steer the steering wheel to the right more. Since the camber bolt slipped on literally the first corner, I hit hard in this car with the new tires. They weren't even warmed up. I'm ditching the camber bolts because that's clearly not safe. Instead, I got that nice new zinc hardware. So, and the thing is that we got camber adjustment on the top hats. So I'll go ahead and max that out just for this test drive. All right, I got the alignment fixed. I got the alignment bolts replaced. Much better. Bro, no fucking way. Going around that corner fast changed my alignment again. There's some sort of weird EP3 issue I'm not aware of, because going around a corner fast should not shift your steering rack. It's like totally crooked now. It was perfectly straight before. And look, I just yanked the steering wheel, now it's straight again. Oh God, that means there's something wrong. This thing is still honestly so much fun. Just with the intake. And I almost like it just with the intake. So I got the car up into the air and I was kind of using a pry bar just to kind of put some load. And I think I found the issue. So these cars have very strange steering racks. Instead of like the tie rods moving on the outside of the steering rack, you know, being connected to the outside of the steering rack, they're connected to like a slider on the center that moves. And then the ends, that's the steering rack right there, are mounted in place. It's very strange, but it's a common problem for that slider, the bushing to get worn out. Also, you can see the angle of the tie rod, not great. And that's at, you know, full droop here. So you gotta imagine that gets worse as the car is lowered onto the ground. But anyway, I pried on this coilover and I could pretty much see the entire slider moving up and down, changing the alignment. So I think that's our issue, because I checked pretty much everything else. Everything seems tight. So that's the only thing I could think of. I'm assuming the reason that we are discovering it now is obviously it's got more grip, but also since those tie rods are at a way worse angle, any sort of movement on that slider changes the alignment more. So I think that's why we are noticing it now. Whereas on the stock coilovers, we didn't notice it. Even on the upgraded wheels, we didn't notice it. So what we have to do, buy one of these PCI steering rack sliders, and we're gonna get a steering rack riser to fix all the issues at once. So we got our parts to fix this here. We got our PCI Innovations slider and our riser from Amazon. It's very simple. We just have to pretty much unbolt the tie rods and then unbolt the factory slider and replace it all with this. You can kind of see it's that assembly right there where the two tie rods bolt onto. The hardest part is going to be just removing the tie rods because there's not a whole lot of space back here, but let's do that. I really can't help but think that this was a silly design. Why reinvent the steering rack when it works perfectly fine before you messed with it? Problem, honestly, there's this, like, I want to say strut tower bar, but it's really like a frame rail bar that goes across the entire area back here. That really gets in the way. Might have to do some of that when we make our custom headers. All right, here we go. as you can see, we got the tie rods off. So there's that. Now, I need a pipe. Nice thing about being a fabrication shop, you just got a lot of, breaker bars sitting around. There we go. So that's like the bracket that the tie rods go onto. All right, this is the factory one that I just removed. It's pretty nasty. Actually a little damaged right there, it looks like. I'm not sure, but you can see there's all sorts of play in this thing. It's like plastic. Solid aluminum on the outside, solid Delrin on the inside. Should be very nice. Pretty much just gonna clean up the steering rack a little bit, put some grease in there, put that in there, put that on that. Ooh, baby! All right, we got that in. So it seems like the only problem here is that we have our alignment maxed out. The tie rods are as short as they can get, and we still have a little bit of toe in. And by a little bit, I mean like a 1/4 inch. I mean, obviously, since we're correcting the angle and stuff, tie rods are much straighter, so they're much longer technically. And so yeah, maybe we can get some shorter tie rods, I don't know. But for now, let's drive this thing, see how it drives. Hopefully the steering wheel is straight at least. Worst case scenario, we get some like extra thin lock nuts and trim just the threads of the inner tie rod, and I think that would help. See, like, why is the steering wheel crooked if both the tie rods are the same length? I don't know, but honestly, I bet you the steering wheel was put on not straight. Does none of the steering wheel controls work? As if someone had taken the steering wheel, oh wow. Yeah, so this new slider does limit the steering angle a little bit, and I could definitely tell it on that corner. Like, this thing is not very good at turning tightly now. It's also like, doesn't really self-steer better. Don't really think. Ah, okay, we're good. That's nice. It definitely felt better around that corner too. It didn't feel sloppy. Yeah, it feels better. Now it feels way better. It doesn't still doesn't self-steer very well when you're just going straight down the highway, like it'll kind of get stuck with just a few degrees of input like this, which is annoying. Fail. All right, so I think what I'm gonna do to fix our alignment is take the outer tie rods off, take the lock nuts off, and kind of cut them in half. Just make them a little bit smaller, big enough where they're still strong, but small enough where I have more adjustment because they're bottoming out on the threads. With our little tie rod bolt mod, we were able to get alignment and spec. So we're just gonna drive it and adjust it left and right until the steering wheel is straight. We should be all good to go. Good to take this thing on a rip. So update, I took the car for a drive, and although I was able to get enough adjustment to get the alignment, like the actual specs of the alignment right, it's not enough to get the steering wheel straight. So I'm gonna take the steering wheel off and realign it. I'm assuming, because right now I have one side maxed out and the other side has quite a lot of threads left. So I'm assuming at some point homie took the steering wheel off and put it on back wrong. Well, another reason I think the steering wheel has been taken off is that these airbag bolts have red Loctite on them. Can't imagine Honda would do that, but maybe they would. Got it out. So I've overcorrected it so that we can now adjust the tie rods back kind of more towards center. Well, the rain is kind of a rain on our parade, but the shifter is so much better. Everything is so much better. This thing is really fun when you're beating on it. It definitely needs an alignment. It's just my hand done spec, and it's a little whack, to be honest. As far as I can tell, the alignment doesn't change, but steering wheel looks a bit more crooked than it was looking earlier. I don't know, EP3s, man, maybe not the best track car. Things that significantly worse turning radius than my Miata now. Which I guess Miatas kind of are known to have pretty good turning radiuses, but it's a little annoying. Bump. This thing would be awesome somewhere like the Tail of the Dragon. And so there we have the next evolution of the EP3. Coilovers, steering upgrades, and some clutch upgrades. The car drives great, it looks way better, and I'm super happy with the results. Huge thanks again to BC Racing and Hybrid Racing for all of the parts for this awesome project. Now I do want to go ahead and apologize. When I was originally planning this video, we were going to do all these stuff and then take it to the track. The problem is that I installed the coilovers the day before the track day, and then that's when we discovered the weird alignment changing issue. And I just did not want to take it to the track with my alignment changing. That sounded sketchy. And then I planned on taking it to the mountains, and it's raining literally all week, as you saw in the last clip. Now I could wait to release this video until I had a chance to do something like that, but here's the thing, guys. This is the last video before the big reveal, the big news, the big change. I've been kind of teasing it at the end of videos, but you'll see what's coming next week. And it's something I've been working on behind the scenes a lot. I just haven't really wanted to do other stuff or take this to the mountains or go somewhere, or, you know, here's the video. Enjoy it or don't, that's fine. Now, if you want a little sneak peek, a little sprinkle of a taste of what's coming, check out emindustries.com. There's some stuff there that's new. Just look around the website. There's some stuff there that's new. But there's some stuff there that's a little old too. You know, you can get this awesome Forgotten Hondas shirt. Rep your love for the Forgotten Hondas, the poor EP3, the poor 7th Gen Accord. Nobody loves them except us. Now, in the next video with this car, we are going to be fabricating a header back exhaust and putting it on the dyno, seeing how much it gains from that. I'm excited for that for sure. But guys, I'll see you next week. Thank you all so much for watching. Peace out.